Outer Orange.
Welcome to Get Triggered. This is the second time ever that I'm doing something like this. We are finally doing it again. We are doing an unpopular opinion about card by Vanguard, where we do another thing where I tweet something and y'all give me your opinions, and I'm gonna sit here and potentially roast them, maybe agree with you and maybe disagree with you. We're gonna see how this all goes. And yes, we're doing a little bit differently this time. Last time I did it from a standing position. This time I'm gonna do it like this, just because I feel like it. Because why not? I feel like changing it up, and you're just gonna deal with it. So let's go. Then he got two. Says I got two. Number one, ban VSR. He's referring to Valiant Saber Reverse or whatever it's called. I don't know. I'm not an Arcami player. Surprise. And the banlist system Bushiroad has hit based on tops is an irresponsible short-term fix, which just allows long-term issues to fester. Why haven't cards like NOK or Q-Tire been banned on the merit of encouraging uninteractive games? Pretty good question. For the first one, I agree. I think the Valiant hit probably would have been better. I'm not, like I said, I need to state this. I'm not an Arcami player. I tested into it quite a bit, but I'm not a pure Arcami player. I don't know everything about Arcami, but I don't disagree with this. Now, as for the second one, I don't know where this information is coming from. It's hard to say if that's exactly how the ban list system is being approached. I don't know exactly how they're banning. I don't know if they're banning based off tops. I don't know if they're banning based off more than tops, if they're listening to what other people say, if they listen to people like me, if they listen to multiple people. I don't really know how they're doing all this. I don't know how the system is for this kind of stuff. So to say that it's just off of this, I don't know. If it's just off of this, then yeah, it's probably not the best way to ban. But if it's not off of this, then there's probably more to it than just, information. And I know there's the whole, well, the data says so, Maidens has been topping and it got touched. It's possible that maybe it was touched for future reasons too, maybe. But I don't disagree. I think bans should be a little bit more prepared. A really good example is the original release of Steam Maidens, when the second one released in September. I think the Colossus hit should have happened prior. It's actually even funny, something someone brought up to me is that they even reprinted the Colossus, the Mellow Music Colossus. If you don't know what I'm talking about, they reprinted it right before right when the set was dropping, which is pretty funny because it pretty much broke a deck. It made a deck tier 0. So that was kind of a problem. So it would be nice to avoid those kind of things. We got Visa saying, so I once responded to Maxime Solom that I thought VR reserve list and conceded when the end of V as a majority supported format. I thought that the end date was December 23rd. When I said that, I still think V format may see itself being phased out, but that's a 2024-2025 prediction. I don't disagree with the thought that V might be ending. Now, I want to make something clear here. So just to be clear, just to give a little emphasis, there's three formats right now. We got D, which is standard, we got V, which is V premium, and we got premium, which is premium. It has all the cards. D is the freshest format. Premium has everything, like kind of an eternal format, and then we have a middle format that's just kind of in the middle. It's kind of awkward, but it doesn't have the over triggers. It's just kind of an odd format. It doesn't really fit into either cup, right? Like D is the main format, premium fits into the cup because it's everything, and but V just doesn't fit into any cup. It's just kind of its own thing. Now the issue here is a lot of people think that they're going to go back from 3 formats to 2 formats, which is possible. It could happen. However, I was in agreement to this until recently. There was an announcement in Japan saying that they're going to be doing all 3 formats for their big structure or whatever that's happening. I don't know the name. They're just doing some kind of new thing, for the upcoming events in Japan, all this kind of stuff. And they announced that they're doing premium and V along with D. So with that being said, it's harder for me to believe that they may want to cut a format. Now, it's possible maybe after the results of this, or maybe how the showings are, they may want to think about it. But I will say something that with how product has been going recently, with so much focus on D and so less focus on V, and premium doesn't really matter as much. Not that I'm saying it doesn't matter. What I mean is that it matters less in the grand scheme of things, because every D set is technically a supporting set also for premium, because premium is the eternal format with every single card in it, right? So any set that comes out can be something for premium. Not that I'm saying we shouldn't have more support. What I'm getting at is that there is support coming through, even if it's different. And any promo that comes out also falls into this category, right? Whereas V is kind of in this weird spot where it's not really getting any support right now, and it's kind of getting stale, and I don't know what's going on with that. And because of that, it gives me more thoughts that maybe that V might go. We'll see. I don't disagree that there's a chance. I also want to stay hopeful, and I want to see all 3 formats stay. I would prefer all 3 formats to stay, and maybe there'd be a different system in how the formats are being taken care of. Now, let me see if there's more that Vices said. Vices did say more. And then Bushiroad Japan throws this entire idea out by promoting all 3 seasons for their most premier competitive national National League for the first time in years. No, so I didn't read this, right? I actually just brought this up here in what I just discussed, and here it is once again, so clarifying further what I just said. So I guess we'll see. So me and Vices, I think, are in agreement now. So good, yeah, let's go Vices. So let's go back. So here I have Callum. So Callum says, he has 2 posts actually. So Callum's first post is the game should be 2 formats, not 3, kind of going back into a Vices set, and then the secondary format should be the subsidiary and not the mainstay for the game. If you cannot afford to support them, cut them. Don't waste people's time in pertaining to whether their support will come or not. So that's interesting. I personally don't care. I know I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't care if we have 2. I don't care if we have 3. As long as people are happy, I'm fine either way. Whatever. I would like to see a world where all the formats that exist in Vanguard, no matter how many there are, that they're all just equally supported and loved. Aside from the main one, should be a little bit more loved. But I just hope that that over time, you know, I just really think the other 2 formats are kind of sinking right now, not in a bad way. It's not like, oh no, it's a dead ship. It's more so the fact that it's just stale, and the staleness is getting kind of old, and it would be nice to see just a little bit of touch-ups. And I don't think promos and some sets, like some D sets here and there, is just enough for, especially for premium. I think premium could use a set every single year, just 1 set. Doesn't have to be anything super crazy. Can be reprints of some new stuff every single year. I think that's better than sitting there with like, oh, nothing. The other thing is, I think the ban list should be a little bit harsher, but I'm not like, premium isn't like my main format, so it's hard for me to like want to say that without like being confident about it. However, I do think that things should happen sooner in terms of ban lists to kind of help fix the situation, because premium breaks a lot easier. Now, another thing to solve from premium breaking a lot easier is maybe giving access for more clans to have access to better cards. We're having this big issue right now where there's some clans that are getting insanely good cards, and we're having other clans getting kind of meh cards, and it's causing a problem because there's just certain decks and clans that can just do stuff that other decks and clans can't. And what happens is that those clans will always stay relevant because they have certain approaches, certain things that they can do, or certain floodgates that other decks just don't have access to that. And I think that's a problem. Now, granted, like I said, I'm not a misdesigner of card games here. I don't know what the answer is, but to me, what I thought about over the course of a couple of years now, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have like Cradle Elementals or something that every clan has access to. I know there's some clans that have quote unquote better access, for example, Angel Feather and Grand Blue, since they're more toolboxy. I get that, but it would just be nice to have certain, kind of like Bicken, if you know what Bicken is, cards like that, to have access to all clans, so all clans can deal with these weird situations. That way, when stuff does break, people have ways to deal with it instead of just sitting there and going, well, this clan can't do it, so I guess I can't play this clan. A good example is cards like Denial Griffin. The fact that Kagero has a card like this but no other clan has is, I think, not a good idea. I think there should be ways to stop stuff, ways to kind of prevent certain things, ways to make your decisions matter. I don't know the exact correct way to make that, correct, so like make that the most best approach, but it would be nice for more clans to have access to this. It would keep more clans relevant, and it would just make it easier. Pay for entries at big events to get better prize support and make the game a proper esports game. The money will be able to provide expenses towards actual more content for players and creators. I don't disagree with this. I don't know what the policies are for this kind of stuff. I know I say I don't know a lot. I'm not going to tell you what I don't know. If I don't know, I don't know. But regardless, if there's a certain policy or certain thing that prevents from this, I can understand why there may be some trouble with this. But I definitely agree that there should be paid entry for this kind of stuff. I know it kind of sucks for some folks since they're already paying money, but I think overall just having access to this kind of stuff is just better. I think a really good approach is stuff like Melee does, just these big, cool, awesome prize events where people just win stuff by entering, and you can really see like the esports kind of aspect of it. You can watch it and just really experience it. I really want that out of every type of competitive game that I'm in, that kind of esports feel behind it, where you have amazing casting, amazing way to see what's going on at all times, and amazing just viewer knowledge, where you have someone casting behind it all the time, and there's a game happening all the time, and you're just constantly swapping back and forth. And it's not really a matter of like things being super professional and super specific and super whatever. Like if you watch a Melee game, like or Melee stuff, they're just having fun. They're casting, they're experiencing the experience, they're talking about the players, talking about their backgrounds, stuff like that's really amazing, and it's really lacking in Vanguard, and I'd really love to see that happen more. And I guess it doesn't have to be this whole thing where it's constantly like perfectly planned and everything. They just go in, they have fun, and they end it. The summits are amazing. They're so well done, and it doesn't to me, it doesn't even look like they're really trying that hard. And I think that's what makes it even more enjoyable to watch. It feels like that kind of cozy home type of atmosphere, and I'd love to see that more in Carpet Vanguard. And I don't know if making paid entry is the way to start. If it is, great. If it's possible, even better. If it's not, maybe there's other ways to sort of thing. But I think the best thing and the first thing that should definitely happen, and this would probably evolve the paid entry thing, is I think that there definitely should be a stream in every single Bushiroad event that happens. Every single one. And it doesn't matter how big or small it is. It should be streamed. There should be ways to see it. This includes, by the way, the world tours that they did. There should be ways for people to have access to see what that's like. There maybe should be videos behind it. Like, all this stuff should be documented, because then people can see it and then want to go to it, or people can point fingers at it and go, hey, look, this is really cool. You know, like, there's recently one where they did like this whole big thing where they went on a tour or something, and Nova was there, one of the VTubers, and it was like this whole big thing. It looked super fun, but I had no idea where it was, that it was happening. I just didn't even see it anywhere. And I'm one of those people where I check online a lot and somehow I missed it, right? I don't know what they were even doing, but it's just, I would love to have seen like an even more experience. Like, if I could go and I could vlog it, I would, you know, like it'd just be fun. Sim Abyss says, I never understood why people said V Steam mains was boring. If they meant if they meant with how many times they showed up at the time, then yeah, I get it. But boring to play, nah, deck was a lot of fun, but I loved how it let you adapt to almost any situation. It would have been better if other decks would get the same quality support that they did now that Colossus is gone. I agree. I agree. I don't know about people saying it's boring. I think the issue is not that it's boring. I think the issue is that it's boring to face against other Steam main players all the time. Now, like I said, I don't know if there's other people out there that are saying Steam mains is boring to play. I don't think it is. I actually think it's a very constructive deck. You have to really think through your actions. It does get a little boring if you've played it like 100 billion times, especially with it being really super competitively meta for a while, so you're kind of forced to play, you know, all this kind of stuff, so it makes people get bored of it a little bit faster, right? But I don't think the deck was boring at all. I think it had a lot of decision making, a lot of stuff that could either win the game or not win the game. I think make mistakes really could brick you even farther. I think it's easy to brick actually in the deck if you're not careful, or if you're not playing your pieces correctly, all that kind of stuff. So that is definitely true. Now, going on to the second thing that Sim brought up, which is this part right here about other decks getting this kind of quality support. This is exactly what I'm talking about quality support. There's privileged clans and then there's not privileged clans. A good example right now is actually Murakumo. I know Murakumo's been like kind of busted here and there. However, recently they got support for like a a Stealth Fiend boss card that has nothing to do with the previous stuff. Even though it's Stealth Fiend in its name, all the three cards are very restrictive, they're very linear, they're very specific, kind of like Ride Deck almost. And the issue is that we had this amazing card come out right before it, which is Hyoga. Hyoga was an amazing card, and I really wish we saw 3 supporting cards for her, and instead we just see 3 supporting cards for a completely new boss unit that has nothing to do with anything else that Murakumo has had aside from the name, and they're very restrictive, and they only work with the grade 3 Vanguard, and they only work when you're on your grade 3, and it's just all that kind of stuff. Well, instead they could have just supported Hyoga and make Hyoga an actual deck, but now Hyoga's stuck kind of in this weird spot, and we're having this issue with a lot of decks. They're just kind of in this weird spot where they're like kind of complete, kind of not, and you can argue that some are better, some are worse, but you know, it's not the same kind of complete support that like Steam main has got, or that Grand Blue has access to, or that Murakami has access to some degree, not everything, or that Bermuda has. Bermuda's been getting amazing generic cards. That's why Bermuda's been in meta. It's not even so much that it's the clan, it's just the fact that they've been getting good cards. Why aren't other clans getting this kind of treatment? Why aren't we getting more generic cards? And I hope that we get to see this kind of more and more as we go in. We got Nomin saying Bushiroad should ban Illusionary Revenger, Mordred Phantom, just so we can stop getting any more crusty support surrounding that card. We should also ban the ZTB traits so we can just kill Mercy kill any hope that people have of that card ever getting support. Now, I know Norman's kind of trolling about the whole Mordred thing. He hates Mordred with a burning passion because he hates decks where you have to open up the exact correct grade 3 like without having too much access to search correctly, blah blah. Anyway, so he has some horror stories with his Mordred experience. However, the ZTB thing I hear so much. Everyone's like constantly ZTB support. They get there's gonna be some kind of support in Oxford. It's just nothing. Obviously it's never gonna get banned. I don't see either of these decks getting banned unless something crazy happens. But hey, you live your dream, no man. You live your dream. You live your best life. You got this, man. You live that dream. Damn, that's crazy. Next we have Devlin. Devlin states, Standard had players get lazy, card designs became really lackluster. Sure, it's in a better spot as of now, but there is no more identity within any of the nations, which removed the best aspect of Vanguard. Also, premium best format, let's go. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I strongly disagree with this statement right here. Devlin, you're an awesome homie, but I can't agree with this. I think that there's absolutely no laziness at all behind this. I think the card design does actually matter. And yes, there are a couple cards we have like these commons that are like, oh, plus 5k, blah blah. But it's done like that on purpose, so things aren't power crept as hard. But those numbers actually do matter. They make magic numbers when you play the decks, and they make certain numbers where it makes it hard to guard if you set up a certain way, and all this kind of stuff. Now I just don't think it's lazy at all. I actually think you have full flexibility to build whatever deck you want with some linear aspects, yes, but that's because we are still developing a really big format. Overdress is a very slow development, and that's perfectly fine. I think it's perfectly okay to have that kind of stuff. I think we need that kind of stuff. We don't want the game pacing so fast in Overdress and have things just explode everywhere and everything's broken. Like I don't know, Digimon's a good example where everything's just went too chaotic, too broken, too fast, and it's just a terrible game to play right now. And no offense, I'm sure casually it's really fun, but I don't play it right now, but I've heard from a lot of people, not just one, it's been multiple people saying that the game is practically unplayable from a competitive aspect because everything is just super sacky and just everything's just ridiculous, and there's just no level of fun at this point. It's just broken after broken after broken, right? Why would we want that? Now again, going back to my whole the laziness and design of that aspect, it's not lackluster at all. You have the flexibility to put as many ratios as you want into your deck because ride decks exist. You can run all orders if you want. You can not run all orders if you want. You can run only grade 1s. You can run only grade 2s. You can run only grade 3s. You have the ability to do that kind of stuff because ride deck exists, and actually it opens up a lot of cool and unique decks, and people can build into meta. Now we're still getting there. It's not fully there yet. It's still developing, and that's fine. Like, that's okay. It's also the first format, the main format. Like, it doesn't have to be the most intricate and the most delicate and the most intensifying format on the planet. And actually, I would even argue the matchups really matter. I think people really do not give enough credit to D format is actually insanely in depth. Your mulligans matter, your draws matter, what you're discarding matters, what you're writing matters, counterblast matter, how much counterblast you're giving your opponent matters. It actually all matters. I cannot even begin to explain how important actually even counterblast denial is. I've been denied, and it slows down the pace of the game so much where it almost lost me games. In some cases, it did lose me games. Games I didn't even hit overtrigger on. I've had games where I hit overtrigger on, my opponent denies me damage, and I lose the game. It's actually crazy. Like, I feel people just do not test this format enough. Now, is there sacky issues? Yes, there is. I do not deny that. But is the format lazy, and is the card design lazy? It is not lazy. I think it is very well designed, and I give a lot of chef's kisses to D. I think D is actually a very good format, and I think as long as they keep going down this path of being very careful as they go, I think it's going to continue to be a very, very amazing format, and I'm very proud of it. So that's just my personal opinion. Also, to bring up best format, I'm pretty equal. I like all three formats a lot. To you, premium might be best format. To me, I don't even know. I jump. I think if you ask me every 3 to 4 months, I'll probably have a different opinion in terms of which format's best format, because they all have something to offer. They're all really good. All right, going in, we have Dan, or it goes by Shin Ultraman here. So let's see, it looks like a 1 of 2. So let's read this full. The switch over to nations is showing to be one of the worst decisions ever. Less unique clans to go around, greater than more people playing the same deck, more people going after the same staple cards. The old carton ratios that we're on aren't going to cut it anymore. Oh no, there's more. Frame rares and full frame rares were a mistake. The FFR's ratios suck. If you're going to make FFR, that's scarce. Just keep SPs and have FFR be the replacements for DSRs. The fact that FRs aren't a step between holos and SP FFR but a replacement for holos is stupid. The Vanguard fandom has gotten more toxic with Overdress. I keep seeing more drama on a regular basis recently than in the past 10 years that I've been playing the game. What is with these new players? Damn, that's a lot. So let's kind of break this down piece by piece. Let's break down the first thing about the whole nations. The nation switch was the worst decision ever. Kind of less uniqueness behind clans, etc. Going into all that, I agree and disagree. I really don't like this whole every ride line there's a new ride line all the time, though some will disagree with me on this one. The reason why I don't like it is because it does feel like clans again, and because it feels like clans, it feels more linear. However, I will say, and this is something related to Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of archetypes. There's like archetypes left and right, and it works pretty well because there's constantly something new and refreshing and interesting going on. And I think even for future times with like staples and stuff that could happen, I think it would just really push for just more interesting things. It keeps the format pretty fresh, and I don't really mind that so much. I will say I don't like the idea of how they're currently doing it, but I hope in the future that it changes a little bit to where there's kind of like a little bit more open air between what you can do between nations, because you have nations like Strakea and Brandgate that can really go back and forth between like different ride lines and do different setups, but then there's other nations like Keter that get really stuck in their ride line, and hopefully over time we kind of see that open up more as time goes. But I'm not completely against ride lines. I think or too many ride lines as the argument goes. There's a big argument about too many ride lines, right? So kind of a problem. But we'll see. I I think as more staples come out, it'll be easier for this to, you know, develop. And then onto the card ratios, 100% agree. I think the card ratios are horrendous. I think they're awful. I think that really needs to be fixed, and I hope to see that get fixed, because right now it's really hard for newer players to play the game. It's kind of an issue. It's actually a really bad issue, even for me as someone who invests so much time and effort into the game. Even I stopped buying new decks because I'm just sitting here like, it's just not worth the $300-400. It just isn't. Like, you know, there's some stalenesses during seasons. There's some seasons that there's just nothing to do. Sometimes during the week, during the year, you know, there's just time frames where there's just not much going on, and you just don't really have a reason to compete. There's a lot less competition overall in overseas versus, you know, Japan. They just have a lot more happening just every single week than we do. So more staleness is increased because of that, and it makes it less interesting to want to buy decks during certain times. And because of that, like, there's no reason to buy decks unless you're casually playing. But even casual decks are kind of expensive. And I really think it needs to be fixed. And I hope it gets fixed, because I literally can't get new players in right now. It is almost impossible unless it's only through online sim or Deer Days. And even then, Deer Days is behind. So it's just really hard to get new players in. And I really hope that this gets fixed. Now, going on to the FFR versus SP thing, I think what should happen is that FRs, which are hollows, should stay. And SPs should come back, because I actually like the idea of the frame rares. I just don't like the frame rares on the big, pricey, pretty looking cards. I think the pretty looking card should just be full arts, SPs, anything like that. I think that's way prettier than these frame rare things that they're trying to do. I don't think they look as nice. I think it actually kind of gets kind of cluttery, but that's just me. It's my own personal opinion. At the end of the day, I think it's just more of like an eye for an eye thing. Some are really pretty. I really like the gold text that they put in, kind of all this extra stuff, you know, differences between nations. I think it's pretty. I just like the full art more. I'm just more of an SP person, but that's just me. It makes me not want to spend more money on the FFRs. Like, I have like literally no interest in buying the FFRs unless they're like a $10 or something. But, you know, even for 100, I don't want it. I prefer the full art. And then the Vanguard fandom has gotten more toxic with overdress. Now, I don't know how true this is. This is maybe an experience that, you know, Shin over here is experiencing. Also, Shin is a mod of mine, so it's something. I'm not saying this in a bad way. What I mean is, so because he's been my mod, he sees more. And because of that, I actually think it increases the chances of you seeing drama. Whereas if you're not a mod and you're kind of playing on your own with your friends or whatever, you may not see the toxicity as much. Now, it's just my personal take. I don't know. I don't know Shin's like personal locals experience. I don't know how much they use the internet, how much they don't use the internet, all that kind of stuff. But personally, something I noticed is the more I started interacting with Discord, the more I would notice some of this toxicity type of stuff. But also, what I just started doing is I just started ignoring the toxicity stuff, and boom, bam, suddenly things aren't so negative. Now, like I said, everyone has a different experience. Sorry, I realized I never scrolled. So everyone has a different experience, so I don't know exactly where this falls into, you know, where this is coming from, all that. It could be coming from different outlets. I personally haven't seen too much drama. I've seen drama happen, but I don't think it's anything too crazy. So that's just my personal opinion, but I don't know. I can't speak for you. It's your experience, and I don't want to speak for you and your experience. So the healthiest thing for overdress is for Bushi to make standard a rotating format. It would allow them to slow down set releases, make bigger sets, control the number of ride lines being produced, and the prices of staples would be more under control. I don't know how I feel about this one. So I've never been a part of a rotating format myself personally, so I have no idea exactly how this would go. Now, but you know, I think I'm pretty sure Shadowverse does this kind of stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of don't like it. I don't know how it would happen in real life. I don't know if that would change. I would need to see some kind of like experimental thing to be 100% on this one. Next, we have VG community is too horny. I don't know. I don't like. I mean, yeah, but no. Like, I think the concept is the internet is probably too horny. I don't think it's just Vanguard. Now there is a level of, hey, don't do something stupid concept. If you're enjoying, you know, whatever it is you're enjoying, whatever, you know, do your thing. If you're talking about, you know, this certain stuff a little too much, you know, that could be an issue. You know, and personally, at least recently, I haven't really seen that side as much. It's been pretty peaceful personally on that end of stuff. I really just haven't seen it too much, but that's just my personal thing. I don't know if I just haven't been looking for it. I don't know. I was never looking for it to begin with, but I just don't really see it. But also, I believe that every single community has this aspect, and it's just a matter of like if people talk about it or not. And if people talk about it, then, you know, it amplifies. People talk about it less, it doesn't really show up. But I don't really think it's an issue. And I think it's okay to enjoy and talk about your feelings about certain, you know, enjoyments of whatever it is that you like. I'm gonna read the stuff below this because it's just sport. It's a little bit kind of, in my opinion, a little toxic. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of, now I'm gonna go into the next thing I got here. So we have Scissoring Gwen. A lot of ride lines coming out is not a bad thing. Standard has an issue of staples being expensive. New ride lines keeps the game fresh and takes up slots from the strong staples. Support for old stuff is very doable still due to nations. New lines are also help people find a place. Now this is the other end of the spectrum. So some people hate the new ride lines and like too many new ride lines. And some people are more like Scissoring Gwen where they think it's good. And this is pretty much the support behind it. Like I said, I'm kind of more in the middle. I don't like too many ride lines, Gwen, mainly because I think it just gets a little like you know, you have decks like Hexawarp that are just kind of existing, right? But I do agree that it can fix the staple issue depending on how it's done. Now, like if there's a card that can be worked with multiple cards or whatever, and multiple skills and multiple aspects, then it's fine. You know, cards like, you know, you have cards like, oh my gosh, you have cards like Inlet that can be thrown into pretty much any deck, right? But now it's just too expensive because of that. So that's kind of an issue. But then if we put more cards like that, then it becomes less of an issue. But then when you have cards that just kind of do a 2-in-1 thing, draw and give you soul, then, you know, it kind of starts being like, oh, well, every deck needs to run this, right? And that could be a problem too. But I don't know. I am more against the ride lines than I'm for the ride lines with the way they are now. And it only is because it feels like clans to me again. It feels like the whole concept of nations just kind of fell out the window. And I felt like this since Set 2 release. The minute they announced Greedon and Flagberg and Gravidia was when I was getting skeptical about more ride lines. And my thing was like, well, how is this any different from clans? And it has nothing to do with, oh, well, we're getting new ride lines, that's a problem, or oh, it feels like clans, that's a problem. My issue is that it was marketed like nations were going to fix this big problem that Vanguard always had with clans and everything being linear and being specifically built and all that stuff. And I feel like we're still in that problem. But I will say, depending on the nation you play, some nations are open to play kind of a couple cards. A good example is Roaring Prison Dragon. Roaring Prison Dragon, you would play like almost any single deck, and I think that's great. And it's not an expensive card, and it's not like a super broken card either. And I would like to see more of this kind of stuff. And you could play like all these decks, and you can also throw Roaring Prison Dragon into because it's so generic, right? So because of that, I would like to see more of that kind of stuff. But we'll have to see kind of how things develop as time goes. And that's not an end I'm okay with. I just don't like the way it was marketed to begin with, and I don't really like the marketing thing. And also some decks are just very restrictive to their archetype. I just think we need like a ton of staples, just a ton of them that just do all these amazing things, and you can just throw them into any nation and you can just kind of do your thing. Cradle Elementals would be definitely the first step to that. We are getting that Cradle Elemental set. Really hope those cards are generic, they can throw into any deck. Dragon Tree stuff looks like it's going down that route. We even got those weird orders with it too. That's what I want to see more of. I want to see more of that. It'll give me a lot more enjoyments to have that, and then make that in my nations, you know, and then I can have like these tech options and all these different things, but I'm still playing like my cool ride lines and all this kind of stuff. That's what I see. Then I would be fine with more ride lines. I'd be okay with that if there's more deck flexibility, which I'm hoping in the future we'll see more of. And I don't want to wait another 2-3 years. I want it like this year or the upcoming next year. And if we're gonna start seeing that, I'll be happier. That's all I want. Wolf says, I like the over trigger. Once I increase my rate of play, games where one or both resolved the OT did not determine who won the majority of the time. It's probably pretty close though. Most of the time counterplay was an option. OP decks are more of a consistent problem than OT. Interesting. You know, I feel this way a lot, and then like the OT happens and at one time where you couldn't do anything about it, and it feels kind of awful. But then that comparison game goes of like, well, if it was a crit, it would be the same situation, blah blah. I think the issue with the like, I see what you mean. You know, you play it more and you start counterplaying against it, and then sometimes you'll hit the OT and it doesn't even matter. The game will still not be decided off of it. This is true. You know, Wolf isn't wrong. This does actually happen. I've experienced it even myself. I will say, I think brand gates is probably the biggest problem. I think that OT does dictate games a lot heavier than some other over triggers do. Not that I'm saying the other over triggers aren't busted, but I do think that brand gate OT is one of the worst ones, and it is definitely an issue. And I do think that one's a problem. I also think defensive OTs can really change the game. I think that's where the issue kind of comes. You can't really counterplay that as well. If you're trying to kill and your opponent hits the OT, you kind of just are stuck. I see your point. I see your point. I think in D it's fine. I'm not as keen about it in premium though. Overdress was an excuse for Busho to ask the majority sympathy support for the clans. Only 2 people play like Tachi's and Mega Colony because they kept throwing their money down the drain, printing Raging Rampage, was tactics, rampaging strategy sets. So pretty much talking about the sets that had Mega Colony and Spikes and Tachikaze in it, and pretty much they were wasting their money with those sets because they weren't really making money off of those sets, which isn't, I don't know how true or not true it is. I assume it's true, mainly because I look back at those sets and they are literal hot garbage in terms of making money. There's absolutely nothing in there you can make money. Part of it is reprints, but the other part is just nobody cares. It's just how nobody cares. It's just reality. There's like that small percentage that cares, that very small percentage, but in actuality, like majority don't care. Majority play the clans they like to play, and sadly those 3 just aren't one of them. And it's really rare where those 3 clans are actually played dominantly. You don't see them very often. They're not very played, etc, etc. So it's kind of an issue. So I think it's an excuse for axing that type of theory? I don't think so. I think what happened was there was a lot of designing issues with V was kind of unfixable, and I think the idea was, how about just restarting the format, or doing one more reboot to fix the problems that were kind of occurring, fix the power creep that was happening, and do it correctly this time. And I think they are definitely accomplishing that for the most part. But I definitely don't think it's an X for what was going on with those 3 clans. I just don't think that's true. But hey, we all have our opinions. It's okay. That's what we're here. We're here to talk about opinions. Next we have Wolfrin. The game should not necessarily develop in the form of more attacks. 1, you can set a creep, not surpass it, and print new decks in the same creep while side grading the old ones. 2, you can have the 3 attack deck keep having only 3 and push their ceiling without more attacks. That's fair. So what he's saying here is like, you don't need a deck to attack 4 times to win the game. And you can build a deck, you can make a deck be able to have enough to do as a 3 attack deck and be fine. A good relation to this is Zorga. I assume that's kind of what Wolfrin's talking about here. I'm gonna check the comments real quick, see if he added on. Tell me you're a Zorka player without telling you you're a Zorka player. That cracks me up. You can make a deck smart enough to where the 3 attacks matter. I agree and disagree with this. I think Vanguard is designed in a way where more attacks means you win faster. I think that's just how the game is designed, because the turn you put your cards to the turn that you can attack, which is very unusual for a card game. You aren't usually able to do that. You usually set your cards. Now that being said, I think with how Vanguard is working, I think more attacks is good. And yes, you can like argue like, oh well, you could just add more death or add more this. It's like, what more can you add? More crits, more pressure, more guard restrict. Like, you know, yeah, you can do that too, but then it also breaks the game other ways, and it might cause other issues. And I don't know. It's a weird one. I agree. I think you know, a guard restrict, for example, for Zorga would also fix the problem, which they did get, by the way. That definitely didn't fix the problem. But I do think there's a general slowness. You know, there's deck out that can happen, all this kind of stuff where that 3 attack decks tend to struggle into, and that becomes an issue. Like another good example is actually Kokaitis with Flanger. Now, Flanger was a literal win con. You just mill out your deck and you go for Flanger and hope that they don't heal out. If they heal out, you lose. If they don't heal out, you win. And it was a 3 attack deck, right? But it was a 3 attack deck with high pressure and high guard restrict, and you can make it happen in decks like Zorga as well. So I guess we'll see. Maybe not that kind of crazy guard restrict, but maybe something that'll actually feel like more pressure to actually win the game, actually have a win con. I don't think Zorga has a legitimate win con right now. The win con of I attack with 2 dragons and hope that my crits break through is not a win con in my eyes, and I hope that we see that fixed in the future, but we'll see. Hi from WCC said, prizes at official tournaments are good. I agree, they're amazing. I think prizes are amazing. Do we need money? No, necessarily. I think prizes are also good. I think prize cards are good. I think playmats are good. Brings a lot of memory. I'm more of like a memory and sentimental type of person. I think prizes are fine. Can we add more to prizes? Sure. But I think what we need to add more isn't necessarily prizes or what's going on, or maybe trophies would be nice. But like, aside from adding more to prizes, I think we need to add more to the actual events themselves. I think that's where the starting point should be. Adding more stuff to events. I don't think that there should be like prize money or anything like that. I don't think we really need that. But I do agree that there should be more happening at the events that everybody goes to. And hopefully we can fix that. Michael Seekers. The Ghidorah strat should be put to 0 because it's an unfair and unfun floodgate. Just because it's not considered meta right now doesn't mean that it shouldn't be taken out of the game. Get rid of it so that MC can be freed to have a good power value without breaking the game. And I don't know if there's more to this. Let me see if they wrote more. They did not write more, so let me go back. So I actually disagree with this. And the reason being is I think instead of having to put the stride to 0, I think we could just add better options to deal with the stride. And by that, I mean maybe cards that can shut down effects, cards that can stop certain interactions, and I think that would be a better solution than straight up banning Ghidorah. Now, should we do something about Ghidorah? Maybe. I think maybe the card being at 4 copies might be too much. I think having access to it for that many times, it might be a little bit unfair. I don't disagree. I think, and I've talked about this before. I also think there is ways to play around Ghidorah, but it's really tough right now. You want to know why it's really tough? Because we don't really have cards that answer these types of questions. And I think if we got these kind of cards to answer these type of questions, maybe it wouldn't be too bad. If we had a way for Ghidorah to do her thing and then for us to shut that down, you know, turn off the effect, maybe that would solve some problems. Now, I do believe that it would have to be very restrictive, maybe like a card that gets removed from the game, kind of similar to how the grade 1 Elementaria works, something like that, something you can only use once. But I think being able to do that kind of stuff would scare people more and make it more interesting for people to build decks and build cool stuff than just saying, hey, let's just ban the card. Because I don't think the card is that unfair. I think the card is unfair if you do it multiple times. I think the card can become unfair, and I do think that causes a design issue, and maybe because of that, maybe it needs to go. But I think at 1 copy wouldn't be too bad. I think 4 is a little much. I know right now it's not quote unquote meta. I know it can come back in meta, but I do think having floodgates or having access to stuff like this isn't a bad thing either. I think the game could use more of it actually. So, but that's just personal opinion. Going on, you got Val, best character, no bias, I swear. Not even a contest. Apparently many think otherwise, which is factually wrong. I think she's adorable. Actually, if you really need to hear someone's opinion, Melonomat really relates to her. Can't remember her name right now. It's not coming to me, but Melonomat really relates to her a lot, and just what she goes through and all this kind of stuff. So there's definitely someone out there that really appreciates her and the character. Definitely thinks it's one of the best characters that's come out in Overdress. Even the little characters matter too, and especially in the anime of Overdress. I feel like the character development is actually really insane in Overdress. I think every character is very, very unique, very its own, and has their own like actual life problems, and they're very relatable. Like I really related to like Miri and what she was going through, not from like, you know, her being blind, but just the situations she was being put in. So yeah, I think this is good. Mega Trick. Gunstiller Dragon should not have a once per turn restriction on it because it makes me sad. I'm not gonna lie, I don't disagree. Free Gunstiller Dragon, make him the best freaking card on the planet. Make him tier 0. I don't care. I would love to see it. Next we have Astro Susano. Clan loyalty is part of the fun in the hobby and keeps you more hooked to the game in the long term since you're excited each time you explore your decks again. I don't disagree. I actually think that's very true. And I think the same could be said about ride lines, the same could be said about nations, same could be said about a lot of stuff. I feel like there's a lot of clan loyalty and a lot of it is very seen amongst the community. And I don't think it's an issue because I'm that person. A great example right now is I haven't touched Grand Blue in a bit. Well, I've been touching it, but I haven't been like touching it, right? You know, and then Mick the Ghosty recently dropped officially, you know, for the English side of things, and I instantly hopped on and started deck building and started figuring out more decks and more things I could do with Grand Blue because that card dropped, because that's my clan. I love Grand Blue. It's literally my favorite clan. Many may disagree with me on this because I think I'm a Bermuda player, and the reason for that is because Bermuda has just been getting better generic cards that just make the clan just more busted than currently what Grand Blue has access to. I agree with this. I think this is a really good point. I think it adds a lot of fun. I think just having that passion for your clan is just amazing, and being able to go back to decks and rebuild them and kind of find more stuff to do is just always an amazing sight to see. No one has a valid reason for discontinuing a format VP0 other than that they don't like it, shouldn't have existed, and that they think those resources will be put into their preferred format instead. Now there are reasons. People have just seen kind of like a reoccurring thing happen, you know, stuff just happen over and over again, and so people just assume that because certain things are happening or certain things are not happening, and because of that people just think certain formats might go, or you know, like V might go or P might go or 0 might go. Now things why 0 is kind of a weird one is because that just hasn't been performing well, so that one, like literally there's just people have just been dropping the game, and you know, having developers behind constantly building the game is a lot of money, and if it's not making money, then you know there may be a reason to want to drop it, kind of similar to how gacha games tend to die, you know. So, and 0 is a gacha game and you kind of need people to play it to kind of keep it going. Now I will say the English side, as far as I've heard, has actually been doing extremely well, and actually I think 0's been really fun. I haven't played it in the last like month or two, but I recently picked it back up, I think in September and November and stuff like that, and it was actually amazing to play. It was actually super fun, and I'm not gonna lie, I would be sad to see it go. So I really hope that there is a way to keep it alive. So we'll have to see about that. Now VNP, no one has a valid reason because no one really knows what's going on. People just want, a lot of people just want a format gutted because they're tired of 3 formats. It's not even a matter of which format to gut. It's just a matter of people are just tired of the 3 format structure. I like the 3 format structure. I actually don't know what the issue is with 3 formats. I think it's great. I actually think the more Vanguard, the better. I know I'm crazy, but more reasons to play Vanguard, sure. Like, oh, I have 0, I have V, I have Premium, I have Standard, I have Deer Days, I have XYZ game 256. Sure, give me more Vanguard. I'm not gonna get mad about that. But other people just were like, nah, just get rid of it. And yes, I agree. Some people think that if you get rid of something, that suddenly there will be more efforts being put into something else. And I don't think that's entirely true. I think the same amount of effort will still be put into whatever. I just don't think it'll matter as much. But so I'm with you on this one. Light, Mr. Light says, "Feels a terrible idea and should have existed." Now I wasn't around during the time when it was G era and V wasn't a thing. I actually joined mid V. I started playing the game in 2019 towards the end, right before 2020. So I literally I joined right when Excel 2 meta started. Like literally the minute the gift 2 marker was printed is when I just pretty much started playing the game. And I had no idea what was going on. And I don't know how bad things were during G. So to answer, was V a bad idea? I have no idea. But to me, it looks like we could have just kept going with G and just fixed that problem. And maybe V wasn't needed. I do think the gifts are a problem. I think the way the gift mechanic works just isn't very smart and is an issue. And I think that is the main issue of V. But I think revamping V and pretty much doing what they did with V, I don't think was an issue. I can see a world where V never existed. I think things would have been fine, but we're here now and we're living the world we're living in. So next we have Loris. Did I mention the fact that the game would be 10 times more insert everything positive if we had Loris retrain? Real talk to real take though, Angel Feather is one of the worst supported clans in terms of strides. Not only we don't have that many, but currently only 4 of them are playable. This is very true. This is a very true statement, as I live with someone who plays Angel Feather, and my goodness, it is a hard ass time. One, that's a very complex clan in terms of the amount of movement and how things go, and because it's so complex, it actually makes it hard to properly deck build something. There's like 100,000 different ways you can build one deck, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. And the other issue is that yes, strides are practically unplayable except for like a couple of them, and the rest of them are pretty much kind of garbo unless there's like a certain special cool interaction you can do, and even then you're very restricted because there's only certain things you can do, because Angel Feather does not have the best generic staples right now. Hamia was the best thing they've gotten in a while, and that's just how it is. Gavriel is a close second to the best thing they've gotten in a while, but that was the dumbest win con you could possibly think of. It was just, hello, guard restrict 100k, can you guard this? Oh, you don't have 100k shield, cool, GG, you know, and you can't PG, you can't sentinel, all that kind of fun stuff, right? So that was a problem, and I think Angel Feather just deserves more love. I think they should have more ways to do what they want to do. I don't know if guard restrict was the answer. It clearly was too much of the answer because it made the deck pretty much tier 1 for the longest time, but I do think that Angel Feather just needs more generic cards that can do more generic things to help the overall card pool, and yes, they definitely need more strides. Both V and P, arguably D to be honest, have a lot of really solid decks hiding underneath the surface that have yet to have been properly explored, mostly since there's only 2 forms of events: locals and high stakes. Yes, read low margin of error competitive events. I agree. I think this is an issue, and I guess this is actually very true. There's a lot of, especially in D, I think D has this a lot. D has a lot of insanely good decks below like all the, you know, meta decks that everyone's playing. And there's actually some of the lower dogs, like the underdog decks, are actually really good too. And V and P definitely have this, and a lot of it just has to do with the fact that you just want to take the deck that's just going to give you the most wins. And I also agree that because we only have locals and high stakes, such as, you know, BCS, Springfest, BRO, whatever it is, we don't have like the center area where it's kind of in between, like, and it kind of sucks because you can't experiment with those cool decks. Now, something Japan did is that they forced people. They said if you take a ride line that's less popular, you'll actually get more brownie points essentially for doing that. And I think that's amazing because it let people try out new stuff, let people experiment with new stuff. It forced people to stop playing meta or only play meta. It forced people to actually go out there and just try other stuff. And I think that is amazing, and I would love to see that come out even more and more as the game progresses, as things go. I want a middle ground. I love competition. Trust me, I love winning. I also love seeing unique decks. I think Vanguard has so much uniqueness in terms of different decks you can build, different decks you can play, the decks doing different things, just decks doing awesome things. A good example is Charlie Cardweep. He did this funny like loop thing on stream and everybody had a great time. Everybody loved it. He didn't win, but the fact that he was just sitting there looping and looping and looping and looping was just such an enjoyment to people, because sometimes card interaction is just fun. It's just a great time. It is okay to enjoy this kind of stuff, and I hope that we see more of this kind of stuff come out, more general TCGs. TCGs should keep money out of the tourney scene for prizes. You don't make enough from them to actually be a pro gamer in most cases, and TCGs have a nasty advantage curve for outside info that get openly cheesed once prize money is on the line. I agree. I think this is very true. I'm not a big TCG player, actually, surprisingly enough. I don't play TCGs too much. I mainly have Vanguard's been like my main sauce, right? However, I do agree that once you add money to the pool, things can get ugly. So that's a good point. Next we have Su Onion. So I want for each format, so I want one for each format because I got some base takes. Chronofang easily souls everything in V. Okay. All around Decay is the best overdress nation, and if Nova Grappler ever gets a copy Heartstride like Callisto Roaster or Chainranker, God Hand Dragon best deck by a mile. Okay, so to the first take, Chronofang easily souls everything in V. This is true unless you have a PG. If you're going first, it's actually very easy to win. So that can be true. I'm not saying it's true for all cases. I don't know if it can solo to everything, but it is a one-shot deck, and as one-shot decks do, it can solo into anything. All around, Decay is the best overdress nation. I agree. It is one of the best. I don't know if it's the best nation, but it's definitely one of the best nations. It's very flexible. It's a lot of open building, just a lot of stuff you can do, and just in general, it's an insanely fun nation to play. And if Nova Grappler, the God Hand thing, I've never played God Hand. I don't play Nova Grappler, so I'm gonna take your word for it that will happen. So if we ever get to a point where that does happen, I better see you at the top tables in premium all the time, just wrecking it and just destroying people with your God Hand stride copycat whatever stride thing. And yeah, we'll see that world. So Union, you better be on that boat, that grind to be at the top best Nova Grappler player. I better see you there. Ahmed says the problem with premium are V cards. They are too strong and power kept and are invalidate 90% of the G in the deep card pool. No matter how many times something is banned, there will be new toxic decks. The best way to fix premium is to ban V and let it be G and D only. Yeah, that's valid. A lot of people argue this, and I don't disagree. I think V pretty much broke a lot of stuff, and that's why people hate V so much. They're just it's just how it is. People hate V for this exact reason, and hopefully, you know, over time this can be fixed. But I think gift markers are definitely a struggle. Unrestrict refrios. What in the world is a refrios? Yeah, so he's so Horse spelled it wrong. It's the stand in Angel Feather. It is Angel Feather. I had a feeling it was Angel Feather. It is Angel Feather. I don't know. I didn't play during that meta. Apparently it was super stall and you can make your finger super huge. So if it's healthy for the format, sure. If it's not, hell no. Blaster. Art and designs in D aren't as eye-catching and iconic as Vanguard pre-V. I don't know about that one. This one, sir, I don't know. I don't know about this one. I think D art is absolutely amazing. I don't think frame rares are pretty, but I think D is very beautiful. I think SP's D is very, very, very beautiful. Now, iconic wise, maybe. I think the old art is surprisingly enough more iconic, but I think that's to do with nostalgia. I think nostalgia just really hits. And I think nostalgia is what makes some of the stuff more iconic, because you have the Overlord and you have, you know, Blaster Bleed, Blaster Dark, all that kind of stuff. And I can agree that I think some of the newer units don't feel as iconic, but I don't know, Youthberg, I can see like 10 years down the road, people are gonna like go crazy over the fact of how crazy Youthberg used to be, or what it was, or how iconic it felt, all that kind of stuff. So, and the anime definitely showed this. So I don't know about this one. I think this is kind of a hot take. I think this is a straight hot take. So next is I Talk Tucci. Overdress is low-key mid as F because it doesn't have a Bermuda Triangle, and I'm tired of Kopi pretending that Kyrie is close enough when she really isn't. Bushi, give us a BT counter so I don't have to watch paint dry for another year straight. Also freezes on. I like how you just go from yeah Bermuda Triangle, and then you like freezes on. Hello? Okay, first of all, I don't think Overdress is mid. However, a Bermuda Triangle encounter card would be chef's kiss, big chef's kiss. I agree, Kyrie is definitely not enough, and I miss kind of how Bermuda used to be. At least I like how Bermuda is in V. I know it's stupid to say, but I like how Bermuda is in V, and it definitely doesn't feel like that in D, and I kind of miss that aspect. So hopefully we'll see something like that. I don't know, maybe we'll see a Bermuda encounter card, who knows. I would love to see Pacific or Riviera or Coral come back. It would be absolutely amazing. I would be the happiest person alive. Please, Bushy Road encounter. I don't care. You just drive my nostalgia for like 2 seconds. Give me Pacifico or Coral or Riviera, please do it. Do it. I believe in you, Bushiroad. I believe in you. I believe in the you that believes in me that believes in you. Also, I don't know about Zazan. I'm not gonna go down that path. The market at times makes it very difficult for even a new player to play properly. Example, Rageous Orphist outside himself is affordable, but Rageous himself is too costly for the average player. Even to buy, and being in a bad set makes it worse. I agree, and we kind of brought this up earlier. This is a really bad state right now. We're in a really bad state with this whole stuff. I really hope it gets fixed. I'm not gonna go into this because we kind of discussed this a little bit earlier, but yes, it is impossible to get. It's really hard to get newer players into the game right now to try cool decks and all this kind of stuff just because of this. I pulled my copies, but you know, I also have to pay for the boxes that pulled my copies, and so badoo. All right, let's see. Tails Andrea says premium collections are either new strides or new universal mechanics of the game. I wonder if it's really impossible or just bad for new main deck unique cards to be printed. Thinking about interactions with cards in that era without interacting with V or standard. I think it's very possible, and I think it's something that should be explored more, and I think that we should just slowly stray away from V and gift markers. I think just that mechanic is just kind of awful, and it would just be nice to see just new cool boss cards, or I even think D boss cards that are more generic would be amazing, kind of like we saw with Ruination Dragon, though it kind of broke a couple of stuff here and there, but I think just stuff like that could really help. So maybe there'll be a feature where we can see stuff like this. So I don't disagree. Standard should rotate next year, like how Pokemon and Magic rotates, so we avoid another inevitable reboot. Again, we talked about this earlier. I don't know if this will fix any problems. I don't know if the reboot's the correct way. I'm sorry, rotating is the correct way. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I'm not in the sauce with other games to know. Like, I don't play Pokemon, I don't play Magic, and I don't know what their whole rotation system is. I don't even know if it's worth it. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it keeps the game fresh. I don't know if it'll break the game. Don't know if it'll fix the game's problem. I just don't know. Gasteel can come back if NOK goes. Fair. Kung Pao Chicken, fair. That's fair. I can understand Gasteel coming back if NOK goes. I do think that Gasteel as a card is kind of an issue, but I think NOK is the biggest problem. I think NOK is kind of like the bread and butter of all of Dark States right now, and it kind of sucks that's like that. I wish Dark States had more of an identity than NOK. So, and I do think that if NOK goes, they'll just have nothing, and then you kind of need Gasteel back, right? But it would force them to have to stride again, so who knows. Cypher. Ride lines are pretty much clans, and you can't change my mind. More so when they have specific mechanics like overdress, extras, prison, final rush, etc. that is tied only to that ride line. I agree. It does feel like clans, and I hope that over time it'll be more explored, or there'll be more things you can do. I think it's okay to have certain decks have like a certain mechanic, kind of like how overdress, extras, prison, and final rush work, but I hope that we just don't stick to just those kind of stuff, to those kind of keywords. I think the keywords can be a little much sometimes, and I think sometimes it can be annoying. Even a little bit annoying. It's not terrible, but like one good example is the whole product versus operation thing that's going on with some brand gate stuff. I don't really like it. I like the idea, but it's just kind of confusing sometimes. It's even understanding when the world the deck does. But that's just me. But yeah, I don't disagree. Hasis says, I feel like it can get a little bit annoying sometimes on format wars over which format is best or worse. Everyone has a preference at the end of the day. I agree. This is why I like all three formats. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying every single format. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying one format. I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying two formats. I don't even think there's anything wrong with enjoying none of the formats and playing zero. I don't know. Whatever your life is, I am tired of people arguing about which format is better. I 100% agree with this. Just stop it. Just why does it matter? So someone likes premium and you like V, okay. I tell people all the time that I really love V, and you know, people give me the funny face, but I love V, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna sit there and go, my format's better than yours. V is more superior than premium. I'm never gonna be that person. I'm never gonna be that person. You wanna know why? Because we all got our love, we all got things we enjoy, we all got our own hobbies, we all got our own interests. Some people have grown up on different formats. That's okay. Nostalgia's a thing. That's okay. It's okay to enjoy the new format. It's okay to enjoy the old one. There's no problem with that, and I don't think people should constantly argue over it either. I think it's very I just think it's stupid. I think it's a waste of time. You're wasting your time. I don't know what else to tell you. Oh my, how swaggy. Says we should put zinc back to 1. I don't know, Link Joker. I hear y'all want it back. Sure, you can have it. I don't care. You want it back to 1? Sure, you can have it back to 1. If it causes issues, it causes issues. Sugo says simple. Shinkai Coral should get a retrain in V. Give my girl more support, Bushi, please. I want to give you money. I agree. I think more corals would be great. I think coral is a very interesting deck that's lacking a lot right now, and it would be fun to see more corals come back. Wait, crap. My actual popular opinion is that Protect 2 is way more viable than we give it credit. That if more support was created for it, the way that Excel and Force gets, it can do some really cool stuff, and there are decks that can hit magic numbers easily with them. Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot more to Protect 2 than, you know, people act like there is. It's just the fact that, you know, unlike the other 2 markers, like Force and Excel, you can really swap between the 2. You can't swap between Protect 1 and Protect 2 as much. It's like 95% Protect 1 and like 5% Protect 2 with every single deck, not just one. No, sorry, with every single clan that has access to those markers. With every single clan, it's like that. Some decks are very specific towards one way or another. I think there's more. Malekith best deck. Malekith best deck. Yes, Malekith is an amazing deck. Very good Protect 2 deck. No, I agree. I think Protect 2 is actually very good, and I think people underestimate its power. However, it is not ideal to go up towards it, and a lot of it has to do with just the, like as I mentioned here, is the support. It really is just the support. If there was better supported cards, it would. I think Protect 2 would be more powerful. I do think Protect 2 need a little more. I think it needs some kind of resist or some kind of something to help it. I just don't think it has enough, and I don't think the cards that are being printed are correct for the Protect 2 usage. But that's just me. Pretty sure it should give a decent counter charger, then I can finally play my 20 attacks with Tachikaze. I'm not even surprised. I had a feeling you were gonna say this. I know there's like some counter charging issues in Tachis, and very well desired for a counter charge to come. Brawls says 2 on. Oh, that was Marco, by the way. Brawl says 2 unpopular opinions for the price of 1. D has done more harm to the game, casualization with OT and variants and pricing barriers promos than V ever has. And then the second was, I think there's a possible chance if Ibushi gets a format, they will go for premium and not V. Interesting. So first one, D has done more harm to the game. I disagree. Than V ever has. I strongly disagree with this, actually. I think, oh yes, like OT is a problem. However, I think D has brought a lot of people back. I think the mechanics in D are nowhere near as ridiculous as V has in terms of gift markers. And I overall think that D is actually a very wonderful format. It actually has brought a bunch of love, at least for me, back into the game. And I think for other people is the same. I think D is doing very well. And I think it'll continue doing very well as long as we fix the issues that are happening, mainly with promos, pricing barriers. I think those are the biggest harps, and I think those really need to get fixed sooner than later. I think the fact that people can't play the game is a problem. But I do want to note something. V was very highly priced as well at some point. If you needed to pick up Perfect Guards and a couple other staples, you literally couldn't. They were under very high prices as well. Bermuda's PG used to cost $30 a card, and you can't say that that's normal either. And you needed to run those. You had the option of running the grade 1 Perfect Guards, which were kind of crap, or you know, before there weren't even a thing at some point. They only got printed later on. Or you run, you know, the grade 0 Sentinels, which you need, by the way. You literally need 4 Sentinels in the deck. You cannot run 4 Sentinels, but you're literally screwing yourself. And then because that happens, you actually can't even build multiple decks, because guess what? You have to drop an extra 100 or an extra 200 every time just for Perfect Guards. And that was kind of chaotic and ridiculous in its own way as well. It caught, like, personally, as a person that got into the game during that time, I had like only 2 decks at the time, because I literally couldn't build. I had Grand Blue and I had Golds, and I couldn't build anything else because it was too expensive. And because of the triggers, I was forced to go down this awful path. The only other deck I ended up building was Pale Moon, because Pale Moon's triggers were actually cheap. Their Hades Hypnotist was not an expensive card. So I built Pale Moon, and not even Luke here. I built specifically Nightmare Dolls because it was a $20 deck to build at the time. Crazy, I know. So I actually think I don't think D has done more harm. I think if anything, in terms of that level, it's kind of equal. I think they both done 2 things that are good or bad. They've both done 2 bad things. They have they both given a bad mechanic, and they've both had pricing issues. So I don't know. They both have promo issues as well, by the way. Promos used to be even worse than they are now. promos used to be way worse in V than they are now. Actually, I actually think that promos were horrendous back then. You didn't even have access to promos. There was a time where you would dream of a promo coming to V. You would dream of a time where your promo would even appear, and now and then it just doesn't. You just never get it. And then now we're actually getting the promos. And I think there's a different issue. I think the way the promos are being distributed is a problem, but the promo itself isn't really the issue. The issue is how they're being distributed and the kind of skills that are on them. But there was a time where we wouldn't even have access to these. Imagine playing D and you didn't have access to these promos at all. I mean, they're not even printed in English, and that was the world we were living in V. So think of it like that. Gutting formats, premium instead of V. I don't know. I don't think any format will be gutted. Or at least I hope no format gets gutted. But you know, if one were to get gutted, premium over V, I don't know. I feel like it would definitely be V, but maybe there's something you know I don't. Notorious. V should get nuked from the competitive scene. It's fun to play premium light, but the format seems like, what if every deck was NOK? Hey, I just brought this up earlier. I enjoy it with friends, and DI is arguably in a healthier spot in V, but the format has only felt viable when premium has been at its worst. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think maybe V getting out of premium might not be a bad idea, or maybe V just not being a competitive format at all, just being a casual fun format or something like that. Yeah, I can understand it. I actually could even see that being not so terrible. Let me see what the responses are looking like. What is she cooking? Agree. Yeah, maybe instead of just gutting the format, just make it casual. Might not be a bad solution. Edward says some of the best Vanguard players and minds are still relatively unknown because they aren't content creators or post a lot on social media. This is so true. It is not even funny. This is such a true statement. There are so many amazing players out there, so many well thought out players that really know what they're doing, and they are just unknown. There's a ton of them in Japan, actually, a ton over the seas. There's just a ton everywhere. A good example off the top of my head, even though he is being brought up more, but it's actually David Smart. David Smart is actually someone that no one brings up a lot as one of the best players, like just in general, just an insanely good player. He really doesn't talk a lot. He actually has an interview with Jaime. You can check that out. But what I'm getting at is that he just is very unknown. He's a very unknown player, and he's really good. He's just really good at the game, and nobody knows he exists. And Kyle Warfield is another example. There's a lot of players out there that are insanely good at what they do, and they're just unknown. I consider myself a pretty good player, right? And mainly why I'm known is because I'm a content creator. So this point is very correct. I agree with this. And obviously Edward, who works with Vision, he sees these players more because he sees the events that happen with Vision, stuff like that. So he sees this world a lot. He sees these players a lot. And yeah, I completely agree. Yuki says Dominate is and always was balanced, and they could bring it back as it was for V, and even D is the single coolest mechanic that has ever been made, and it wouldn't break anything in either format, especially since its rulings already exist in P and with all of the D and V cards. That's fair. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think it's broken as long as they don't make it broken, right? I don't think Dominate's not insane. I think it makes you think. I think the idea behind it is cool. I think there is one issue, and I think that might be rulings. I hear a lot. I hear this a lot from like judges. People talk about. I hear the Dominate rulings are kind of a pain in the butt for folks. I hear that people just really struggle with the rulings of that stuff, so maybe that would be an issue. It might be a little bit too much for D&V folks. I think it could stay in premium probably for that reason, but I think overall bringing Dominate wouldn't be a bad thing. Atlas says Great Nature should not have been done the lottery mechanic from the get-go. I think it prevented them from becoming truly great because they spent all the time focusing on it in V. I agree. I think the lottery mechanic kind of made it awkward. I think it stopped giving Great Nature an identity, and I think part of it has to do with that whole retire thing. Maybe it just wasn't working. Maybe they thought there would be better ways to approach the deck. I don't really know. Maybe they just want to try something new, but I don't disagree. I think the lottery mechanic was kind of weird. Gasha says V sets contribute to the P meta just as much, if not more, than P sets. Canning V doesn't benefit P enough to do it. There are decks in V that simply do not translate to P, so without some sort of cray elemental stride that copies the heart like Crystal, I don't want V to end in general. I can understand this. I can understand this aspect a lot. I definitely see where you're coming from. I definitely think a lot of V cards contribute to how premium works just because of how generic they are. Even the shield itself sometimes matters. Like a grade 1 that's 10k on it is better than a G card that has 5k on it. But I think the main issue is the fact that V just power creeps so much that G cards can't exist or can't cooperate properly because of this. But I can understand where they contribute a lot, because they usually do. V makes a big impact to how premium functions, and it's kind of sad. It's just because you ride to get a marker. It's just what it is. It's really the ride. I think the ride is the biggest thing. And unless we get like current elemental strides, which I think we should. I think we should definitely get current elemental strides, like more of that kind of stuff. Team Star Rion says overtrigger would be okay if it kept 10k power for like the others. Shield debatable effects for the shield, and debatably effects for one deck miracle card is fine, just not the unguardable power. I can support this. I think if OTs were 10k, I think it'd be perfectly fine. Keep the skills, keep the 1-of, keep all that kind of stuff, keep the heal, all this stuff. Just take off the 100 mil. I can support that. Xanis says, despite V Clan Collection, V is the least accessible format. Anyone can grab a P Clan Collection and Revival Collection, slap a G-Zone on a standard deck, and go. V starters have not been printed into have not been printed 2020 since 2020. I think that's what I said. Probably just still hard to come by without online ordering. Yes, this is all true. This is all correct. Yes, this can be an issue. I think V can be very inaccessible unless you buy online. You really can't get access to V as easily as D and Premium. This is also correct that you can just slap a G-Zone and you're good to go for Premium with your D deck. There's a lot of diversity with that, and yeah, I think V is a little harder. Overlandy Acelia says Premium collections giving everyone generically powerful strides has ruined the format and destroyed diversity within clans. When even Starvaders are just doing Messiah multi-attack, there's something seriously wrong. Yeah, I think yeah, there's a little bit of this like. So the thing about it is I like the generic clan. I like the genericness of strides because it lets you be able to play other decks aside from like specific decks. Because, you know, before strides was like, well, if you have this thing, then you get to do this thing. You know, if you know, and I think that's a problem too. I think having more genericness makes it more fun for you to be able to deck build because you can throw them into any deck. And I think that's okay. But, you know, if so, like, yeah, like Starvaders having multi-attack, that's wrong, etc. But I think making strides too linear is also not fun, and it makes a lot more decks not viable, and it makes it harder to deck build too, especially in Premium where you want the most deck building to happen. So I don't know, I'm kind of weird on that one. Marina Claire says Eugene makes a better 50 card coaster set than a deck. I haven't played Eugene in a while, but you're probably right. You're probably right. Marshall says Bushiroad should ban Illusionary Phantom Draft. This is what Nobit said. I'm so confused. I don't get it, but sure. Logan says we could have a format of just D and P. It would allow so many more people into P. Gift or a mistake, even gift stacking can be a lot of fun. It won't be a lot of fun. I don't know where. I'm assuming they mean even gift stacking isn't a lot. I think they're trying to say it's not a lot of fun. So but pretty much what they're saying is that we could have a format of just pretty much no V. Pretty much the argument is just to drop V. And yeah, I mean maybe, and I think gift markers are a problem, and the stacking can be a problem too. I think that's the biggest thing. I think fixing gift markers would be the way to go, but maybe nuking V is the answer too. God, this whole thread is so much about imaginary gifts. It's not even funny. That's crazy. Imaginary gifts are the worst mechanic in Vanguard just because of how messy Excel and Force markers are. All those decks are just filled with cluster of markers and it's hideous. I can barely even fit Excel markers on my playmat with Thalbus and Hamsky. Yeah, you just go kind of ballistic with Excels. That's pretty wild. I will definitely agree that gift markers are a pretty bad mechanic. I like the idea of what they're trying to accomplish. I just don't like how it was executed. Lost NPC says Jimmy Okonko should be at 4. And as much as I hate to say it, Premium's health is primarily dictated by the viability of Luard as a deck. This is not necessarily wrong. Luard is one of the gatekeeper decks, is what I like to call it. Gatekeeps decks. It just gatekeeps bad decks, and then the good decks beat it, right? And then they're good decks. Vega Boys is back with I think this is an earlier tweet, but we'll just read it. V Premium can be a healthy format if given the right TLC. It just needs some minor cleanup, more printed support, and can exist as a nice healthy in between Premium and Standard. I think V Premium is the least sackiest of the formats. Yeah, I think I can agree with this. I think V Premium can be an amazing format if correctly taken care of, and we gotta bring this up a lot, but yeah, I agree. Bermuda and Lyrical needs to stop being set. Bermuda and Lyrical needs to stop being set apart. This has led to some people just acting like they don't even exist. I love getting boosters all to myself, but I'm sick of Clan Nation getting treated like they're somehow separate from the legitimate clans. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. This is Nina, by the way, but yeah, this is kind of frustrating. I agree. It's kind of annoying that people treat Lyrical Bermuda like it's not a clan because it's different. It's girls, and it's just not the same, and they have their own set. I think the biggest thing I don't like about the way Lyrical and Bermuda functions, mainly Lyrical, is the fact that we're always behind on getting the newest mechanics. For example, If there's a new mechanic that drops in D, Lyrical gets it way later, and I think that's a problem. And even reprints, we're seeing that, and it's just gonna keep working. I feel like Lyrical's just always behind. And even when it's at even like, I just wish that when this stuff happens, like when the new draw trigger comes out for all the other nations, Lyrical should get them instantly too. I think that's the biggest hurdle that I'm just not a fan of. I get tired of people treating Bermuda like it's just this non-existent thing, when I personally don't see the problem. People are like, wait, it's girls, and it's just not the same as the rest of Vanguard. It's like, who cares? Let people like what they like. That's the whole point of Vanguard. Vanguard has 24 different clans with 24 different things happening in it, and you know what, that's fine. There's something for everyone. And guess what? Bermuda is one of them. It is okay to just like cute things. It is okay to like cute things. It is okay to like dragons. It's okay to like knights. It's okay to like, you know, sea creatures. It's okay to enjoy. It's okay to like these things, because guess what? It's just what you like. Like, it's okay. Like, I like my cute stuff. I also like my ghouls. You know, I like both, so I play both. Right? That's not a problem. Like, what is wrong with that? And you know, it's okay for other people to feel that way too. It's okay to people to be like, I like the cute girly stuff. That's fine. What's the problem? Like, that's my biggest thing. It's like, people have such an issue with it. It's like, why do you have an issue with it? Just let people enjoy what they enjoy. Like, like, if it's something cute and adorable, guess what? It's cute and adorable. Leave it alone. Like, it's not a problem. OT is not the worst thing in the game, says Pharaoh Kitsu. You're correct. It is probably not the worst thing in the game. Any standard deck can be a fun, good premium deck with the right build. Correct. That is correct. Nothing wrong there. Medic says the amount of premium product is fine. 1 box a year is enough for it to be healthy. However, I say half card designs are poorly synergized. Standpoint, loads of decks are yet to receive true V plus support that works with their exclusive V playstyles. Gotcha, G, Galactic Heroes. I think that's Galactic Heroes, plants, etc. So the thing about premium product is that we don't always get it yearly. Sometimes we get it bi-yearly, and I think yearly would be better. I think even twice a yearly would be nice, but I think that's pushing it. I think once a year would be nice. Like, every single year we get one. We don't get it every single year, FYI. It has not been every single year. If I remember correctly, we have not gotten a premium set every single year. And then, yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of clans out there that do not have V plus support and could really use them. Chuju says privileged paladins. Yeah, some are pretty privileged, and some are not as privileged. I think shadows and golds really are better than rules is in general, and it's just how it is. It's sad. They just have better general mechanics. Orange Shinji says Vanguard should always have at least one giant robot deck at standard. It is a crying shame that they don't, and I have no reason to ever touch standard now. Well, it's okay. I'm sure this was supposed to be before that, but hey, they just got some robots, and I'm sure more are coming. So stay tuned for more robots. Getting V stars will make the game worse. Probably, yeah. I don't know if it'll make it worse or better, but yeah, probably. Sage knows more than I do probably on this subject, because he just tests a lot. But yeah, it would bring back G starters for premium. And I don't know if that'd be better or worse. It'd also slow down some of the drawing, but who knows. Ghosty Toasty says the price of Vanguard Deer Days in the US doesn't bother me as a player. I'd rather pay 70 up front and get everything in a time business instead of a gotcha mechanic for real life money. Yep, I agree. I think the issue is mainly people have with comparing it to other games. Some games are just cheaper to play and all this other kind of stuff, you know. And the same thing for different pricing. But I agree. I think 70 bucks to get the entirety of overdress pretty much is amazing. You get to play any deck you want. You can experiment with any deck you want. You got a lot of sauce to create to explore, and I think it's great. Versus spending like, I don't know, anywhere between like $20 to like $2,000 essentially on decks, right? So I agree. McNeil says, I like the Overtrigger. It embodies the anime-esque turn-around moment I personally want from a card game. Hey, I mean, if that's the way you live your sauce, you live your life, that's perfectly fine. I think the issue is that you can't have that experience every single time, and the other thing is that competitively it's just awful. And while that anime-esque moment is nice, when it's the other way around and it happens more than you want, it can be kind of troublesome. But I do agree with you that it makes the games more swingy, and sometimes the swinginess is actually pretty hot. I don't know how else to explain it. It's one of those things where sometimes it's just so back and forth and the game is so neck and neck that it's actually just enjoyable and it's pretty attractive. But it doesn't always happen, and sadly it doesn't outpay the fact that you will lose because of those anime-esque moments. Yusuf says they should put Stunverse at 2. There are way more things that should be hit, and Stunverse keeps the format stable. I can understand that. Maybe one, maybe 2. I don't know. I can understand that. Yeah. Stars, Sword, and lots of Blaster Yuki. There, so I see Blaster Yuki says it's hard to feel connections in D compared to other formats. I think you understand what I mean. Yeah, I think it's a matter of like it's that vibe that you kind of get from like what you love and enjoy. I feel like V and Premium have that kind of connection sauce a little bit more. You can kind of almost feel the cards more, where in D it more feels like you're just kind of playing the game more so than you're doing that connection with the Vanguard. I kind of know what you mean. I kind of understand what you mean. I think in D there's a little bit less of that, but I don't know. I feel like the connections are shorter. I have a lot of connections in D, but they're all short, whereas in V I feel connected for longer. I think part of that has to do with the clan nation thing. You get connected to a nation, which gives you that connection of that. I'm sorry, you get connected to a clan and you feel that connection with that clan, whereas getting in nation form, you can't ideally attach to a nation as much. You mainly attach to the units of the decks you play, more so than getting attached to a whole clan and its mechanics. So I see what you mean. Ruby says, return G-Ange to me. Sure, I'm all for it. Return G-Ange. Samurai says, gifts are a very good mechanic on paper. If you tweak them a bit, they honestly solve a lot of problems V Premium has. Yeah, I agree. I think if there's a way to fix the rulings, I think gifts could be fixed. It's just a matter of how to fix it and what to do to fix it. It's kind of hard. MC Luvia says, V is the best format. It won't be discontinued. This seems like a hot take, like a joke hot take, like they're not being serious. I don't really know. I like the smiley face though, but let me see if there's more behind this one. Also, Fenrir is tier 1 and B. Fair. Probably is. It's not a bad deck. It doesn't have a strong win con, but it has a lot of like floodgatey things that you can do. So yeah, who knows? Kai says, Overtrigger is more fair than people give it credit for standard. It's just a 100 million power issue. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what. I agree. You miss stand triggers. Says Kafka says they miss stand triggers. I don't know. I never experienced stand triggers at their peak. I don't know how impactful they are, or how annoying they are. I hear they're kind of a bad trigger. Haru Ren says they shouldn't have reviewed the game twice. Yeah, probably not. Holy Rat King says, I strongly dislike that people think Greedon's a joke when it's actually a strong sleeper Dark Horse deck. I don't think people think it's a joke anymore. I think for a while people thought it was a joke. I think ever since set 5, no, not set 5, sorry, set 6 has dropped, I don't think people think it's a joke anymore. It got some promos, it got some stuff. I would be surprised if people think it's a joke. I think it's kind of, and actually a lot of people, when the cards got revealed for Greedon, thought that they were really strong cards. I think a lot of people will agree that the deck has gotten a lot better. Overtrigger is kind of funny. Oh, this is Zeta. Overtrigger is kind of funny, and I like it in Premium because sometimes I have zero chance to fit. I have zero chance to face 27 attacks without it. Yeah, that's true. It stops loops, or it stops like what your opponent was going to do to pretty much win con the game. And that in those situations, like, yeah, woohoo, I survived but you survived because of the OT. You didn't survive because of like stopping the attacks, if that makes sense. And again, it's just going back to this other crazy thing. If you could stop the 27 attacks from happening, wouldn't that be better than just having to hit the overtrigger? Creator of and Deck Chef Reverse says, switching from Clans of Nations has caused havoc in both D and P because cards are borderline generic now. This also makes building multiple decks even more expensive, convoluted, because you need to buy multiple playsets of the same effect triggers. Consider a way larger card pool. I agree. I've been falling into this hole a lot recently where I'm like, damn it, I need to buy more effect triggers to, especially draws. The draws and fronts especially. Crits, I don't care about them as much unless I'm playing Dark States, but yeah, 100% on the other stuff. It's like, oh, now I gotta buy this all, and I gotta build this all out, and I gotta buy more generic staples. But honestly, it's kind of the same way with like other decks. Like you have to buy crits and draws and perfect guards and all this other stuff for your other decks too. So I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but it can get annoying. That's why I've always just been a multiple playset type of girl. I have my 12 inlets sitting here, and guess what? I'm perfectly proud of them. Lorenzo says, so my biggest and hugest unpopular opinion seems to be that like power creep is fine, but when it gets to be a tier 0 format, it's annoying. And I don't think having the best decks are unhealthy. It's when format becomes so you have to play this best deck that power creep becomes an issue. Yeah, I agree. I think that is very correct. A good example of that is currently Steam Maidens. This isn't just a Vanguard opinion, this is just a card game, any card game with competitive scene opinion. That's valid. I agree with you. I think as long as things are not tier 0, it's okay. Though I do think power creep can be a little bit troublesome because it makes you have to drop a lot of decks. It's something that you can enjoy in D right now currently. We don't really have that problem in D. There's always gonna be a best deck, right? There's always gonna be like best deck or best 3 or best 5 deck, right? That's always gonna be a thing. And kind of like with the whole Steam Maiden things, people are mad that Steam Maiden's gonna get even more hit, or that, you know, but it's fine. Like, let it be a tier 1 deck. Let it exist as a tier 1 deck. That's not a problem, as long as there's other decks that can kill it, which we do. We have that now. A Bogan that also happens to be an otaku says Vanguard should have been nation based at the very beginning, or at the very least with the V-boot came to the idea of 24 unique clans sounding appealing, but a number of clans have the same playstyle mechanic. Novas and Aquas and Gia and G-Neos and Murakumo and Narukami and Kagero, Shadows and Tachis. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think clans are very similar or samey, or they look similar, and it's just kind of weird that there's like all these different clans. Like, I feel like we could just be fine with 20 clans and just kind of have similar mechanics. Nations should have come sooner. I don't know. Maybe not. I think it's fine. Either way. I don't disagree. We kind of touched upon this like earlier, so that's why I'm not going super in depth into it. Sorry if I'm not going as in depth into it. I really hate Lyrical Monstero, an entire nation devoted to generic anime schoolgirls and idol crap. Now, I disagree with this strongly, but I'm also like a lyrical player. Like, is your opinion against mine? So, you know, if you have that opinion, sure. If you just don't like lyrical stuff, sure. I don't see a reason to hate on it. It's just doing its thing. It's just an entire nation dedicated to just, you know, cute, adorable stuff. I don't see the problem. You have a literal cute adorable thing as your icon. You know, like I said, you could just be messing with me. Maybe you're just messing with me. You have a cute adorable schoolgirl person in your little photo, and you don't like Lyrical Monstero, which is kind of funny to me. It's kind of like contradicting your argument here. That's why I don't know if you're being legitimate or not. But personally, I think Lyrical is fine. Ryuki says all forms of title assault need to be burned. Dang. Does that include the NFT one? I probably shouldn't say it like that. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want the YouTube robots to hear NFT and go and start flooding my thing with it. But I mean, I think title assault's fine. I assume you have like special beef with it. That's fine. That you can enjoy your special beef, but I think it's fine. But that concludes all of every single comment that y'all posted on here. I answered every single one of them. I talked about every single one of them. There are a lot of them were kind of samey. It seems there's a reoccurring, reoccurring theme here. So I feel like the last one I did, the theme wasn't as reoccurring. It was kind of a little bit more separated. This time we definitely had a reoccurring theme. But anyway, other than that, guys, peace out. That's what I'll see you guys in a future video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, comment, and all that great stuff. Tell me your thoughts below, and do not forget to shop at 50cards.shop for your cards. Get what you need. Votes is right around the corner. And yeah, bye bye.